through. I'll just go through it pretty quickly. So we're this group called Actor Machine that's been trying for a number of years to make really procedural characters. I'm going to take you through a little history so you kind of understand the principles and see where we are and what we have to offer. So I guess probably, oh my gosh, about a dozen years ago, I started playing around with procedural faces and started making, trying to figure out how would you break down human movement into its components. So you could take an entire complex face and think of like all the different parts of the face as like notes on a piano or something. And then you could play these notes together and start making chords. So here, if you actually, literally, these are just like the component notes, and then you can start making the component chords out of them. These are just combinations of the other things. These concepts have now started getting into computer games. The character of Alex, for example, in Half-Life 2 is kind of, I started working with those guys at Valve on that kind of stuff. And so now I started asking similar questions about bodies, and we have a team of people working on this. The first things that I tried to do was try to make things as simple as possible. So here's the simplest possible body I could think of. And then the question is, can you animate a body this simple? So so here here it's walking. Here maybe it's walking a little more. Can you do this a little more arrogantly? Maybe it's broad jumping, prowling like a jungle cat. I got the things listed on the left so you can see what they are. Maybe it's really sad, so there's a sad walk, where you can say no, or you can say yes, or maybe this is a hot plate, for example. So can I do that? I don't even see whether I can't see that. So it's got hot feet. Go really, really, really fast, maybe hop on one foot. So it's happened here, it's interesting, in about 30 seconds we've developed an entire relationship with a wedge of red cheese, which shows the power of procedural animation. It doesn't matter how it looks, it matters how it moves. The next experiments I started trying to do were in trying to take some of these concepts and put them on, just work out quick sketches. Like, what does it mean? This guy sort of lost interest in us. It's very sad. Hello? Oh, there you go. Come on, let's go to him. Okay, so we could, for example, let's give him. Let's open up his. Go away, windows. Let's give him some body language. Let's bend his knees. Let's give him stick his butt out. Maybe I don't know. Give him a really great posture, really lousy posture. Have him walk around. Bless you. Shake the ground a little, make uneven ground, for example. Oh, I gave him a staircase. Whoa, that's scary. And the point is that no matter what I do, these characters start dealing with whatever kinds. We can make them jump up and down. And the point is that I can do very, very simple procedural things, and they just try to deal as well as they can, make them vibrate. This is kind of how the mating call of the box creatures. Now, this was just to try to break things down into component, pieces. So, you give them different colors, you give them sizes, you give them different weight or female. You could even change the gender. There you go. So we have gender specificity is not unlike the previous talk. And then at some point I said, we have to do this for real. We have to take these notions of just making animations as simulations with personality and start locking them down to some real body mechanics work. And so the key was to start from the ground up. So here we have some engines that are this is basically a 2D engine to kind of figure out like where is the footsteps going to go. And of course, that ultimately is driving a 3D model, and because it's procedural, we can say, hey, I've got big feet, it's short, it's got wide hips, doesn't really matter. It's still going to go through whatever. So this is not the traditional animation model. You can sort of, lean on one side, have a cigarette. You can bend the knees and things still work. Have it sway the hips as it walks, for example. Maybe stand on your tiptoes or step really high, like Preston and Blair animation. And the point here is that now we have an engine that will let us go wherever we do, what we want to do. And then you have to start thinking, what do I want to do at a high level? I really want to do storytelling. So I started thinking about storytelling, and I started thinking about stories I like. One story that I really like is Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. How many people have read Pride and Prejudice? There you go. Doesn't count if you just saw the stupid movie. And so I started trying to create characters that sort of embodied some of the feeling I got from these upper-class British people. And this is kind of my notes. This is what they look like. So here, you know, they're walking around. They're very dignified, of course. You can make a character move. Say, I'm moving the mouse around and the character's moving. Of course, we always have the village of the damn Pride and Prejudice characters when they all like look at you. I love that. So then I started thinking, could we actually direct characters at a high level? So we have a script, and they're procedurally animating. And let me see if I can bring this up. I go here, and then I go there. So here we have a script behind the scenes, and they're following the script. And I got about halfway through scripting out Pride and Prejudice, and I'm not animating them, I'm directing them, and they're just following my directions. So I'm going to read along the story, and you're going to see about half of this novel pass before your eyes. I think we have enough time. Okay, so all right, so here's the basic story. Elizabeth Bennet's older sister Jane falls in love with Bingley at a dance, but Bingley's rich friend Darcy snubs everyone, so Elizabeth decides she dislikes him. Jane walks to Bingley's estate in the rain, catching a cold. Elizabeth walks to Bingley's to look after Jane, whereupon Darcy secretly falls for her. Collins, the annoying ward of Darcy's wealthy Aunt Catherine, visits the Bennets to choose a wife. Elizabeth meets handsome and charming militiaman Wickham. When Wickham tells her Darcy had cheated him of his inheritance, she dislikes Darcy even more. Bingley holds a dance where Collins tries to court Elizabeth and dances badly. Collins proposes to Elizabeth. She refuses him. Bingley unexpectedly goes off to London, and Jane becomes sad. Collins marries Elizabeth's friend Charlotte, and Jane goes to London, where she is seemingly snubbed by Bingley. Well, that's as far as I got. So, so the important point there is that that was not animated, that was directed, and the characters were procedurally kind of taking care of their own business. Now, this is all very rough. What we want to do is start making them more and more human characters, more believable. Some of the stuff I'm going to show you in the second part of the talk is how to do that. But first I want to establish, like, what is the industry that this is going to grow into? It's going to look different than the animation industry. It's going to look more like, at a low level, of course, we'll have people who are expert at physical movement, elbows, feet, hands, heads, and how to move them. But above that, you're going to have people who are more like acting coaches who are going to coach these virtual characters on how do you go from physical direction down to this stuff. So if I say shoulders back, knees bent, eyes squint, how does Jimmy Stewart do it? How does Helen Mirren do it? How does Bugs Bunny do it? And above that, there are going to be other people who are more high-level, sort of low-level AI coaches. And these are different kinds of expertise that's going to have to go into this. If I say to a character at a runtime, act angry, confused, wistful, weary, how does that turn into these body language directions? And finally, at the top level is all the real interesting AI stuff. Like when you say, get annoyed when your date checks out the other guy, you know, exactly what's the beat and the rhythm of acting angry, confused, and when do I look away, when do I look toward? And all of these are going to be bits of software that are going to have user interfaces that people have to respond to. It's really great talking to people from the game industry because people from the film industry don't actually understand that we're talking about things happening in real time. So that's why we have to really look at what the software engines that are ultimately running at 30 or 60 frames per second. So now we have this whole engine that we've been building, which I'll show you to play with some of this stuff. Let me launch